Welcome back to the Brotherhood of Gaming video game show. I'm your host, William Morris.
And I am your co-host, Eugene Morris. And we're about to do something that's very rare nowadays. We're actually going to review a movie-based tie-in game.
Wow, I mean, hard to imagine, right? It's been a long time since something like this has happened. I mean, usually when it comes to movie-based tie-in games, the general rule is they always suck. But more often today than past year, they usually just kind of port them over to cell phone games and kind of leave the consoles alone and just call it a day.
In fact, I think the last time there was a movie-based video game tie-in was that Ghostbusters game last year. But the less said about that, the better.
For real.
But now we have something that's actually pretty unique. Universal Pictures has licensed out the Mummy to WayForward Technologies to make the Mummy Demastered. Now, this is based on the 2017 movie that came out this summer, which was supposed to be the start of the new Dark Universe. Basically, Universal's answer to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
How that's going is pretty much up for debate at this point. It's kind of in limbo.
Yeah, needless to say, that movie didn't do all that well. But hey, we did get a game out of it.
Yeah, and oddly enough, it's a throwback type of game with pixelated graphics that takes us back to the Super Nintendo era.
Hence, Demastered.
Yeah, our favorite era.
So, let's see what it's all about.
Let's take a look. This is The Mummy Demastered. The Mummy Demastered is pretty much in the style of a classic 16-bit Super Nintendo game. The game's story functions basically as sort of a reimagining of the Universal film that just came out, minus Tom Cruise. So without him, who the heck are we supposed to be playing as? Who's the main character here? Well, it turns out it's the agents of Prodigium. And who the hell is that? Well, shamelessly, the shield of this universe. And they are led by their Nick Fury, Dr. Jekyll, who in this movie was played by Russell Crowe. The game opens up with a masked agent making his way into the catacombs attempting to stop the resurrection of Princess Amanat, who in ancient Egypt turned to evil and was then mummified for it. The agent is too late, as the princess is once again walking among the living. As she regains her power, she begins summoning monsters to fight on her behalf, which include a giant spider, a fire-breathing dinosaur, cause why not, a giant scarab, and Horus. Eventually she revives Set himself, which forces a final battle against her and the God of Death. The story is basic and simple. It has your agents pursue the princess while Jekyll radios in every once in a while to give you orders. There's no real voice acting, with the exception of the occasional grunts and no! So the gameplay. How to describe this? Well, it's kind of a mixture of Metroid with a little bit of Contra, taking place in backgrounds that you would probably see in a Castlevania game. First thing that needs to be addressed are the visuals. They are a real treat for old school gamers like us because their blocky pixelated look is just such a real treat to see in HD. It does seem like it would belong on an old Super Nintendo console, well, despite the HD part and widescreen presentation. The environments include an old church, sewers, forest, the Prodigium headquarters, ancient caves, a destroyed city, and the best of all, a clock tower. Gee, a little on the nose there, guys. What, is the Grim Reaper gonna show up? I mean, come on, we're talking complete with giant gears and enemies that fly up and down in a wavy pattern. Oh my god, who are you kidding? The environments and characters are all beautifully rendered, and I find it very charming. Your grunt soldier starts out with a standard pea shooter with infinite ammo, but as you go through the game, you can find these caches that will reveal more powerful weapons, like a machine gun, a spear gun, a flamethrower, just to name a few. For these weapons, you will have to find ammunition that will be dropped when you destroy enemies. They also drop health as well, which you are gonna need. Other weapons include throwable objects like grenades that you can use to not only damage your opponents, but also bust through broken doors. When you find these caches, you can also refill your ammunition to the max. You can also find upgrades to increase your ammunition capacity. So if you've played Metroid before or have any Metroid experience, you should be very comfortable here. Not to mention, you can also increase your health bars, which you will need, but more on that later. The map system this game utilizes is almost copy and paste from Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I know, I'm sorry for referencing Castlevania so much, guys, but hey man, if you're going to borrow from any gaming franchise, you might as well borrow from the best. As you run through these areas, you can locate new places to explore, but you will be running blind until you find the area's map. Be ready to gun down an assortment of foes ranging from zombies, undead mummies, bugs, lots of bugs, and freaking brains. These brains, guys. The monster movie fan in me wants to believe that this was a reference to A Fiend Without a Face, but that might just be me wishful thinking. Hey Gene, why don't you come and take over? You played this game too.
Thank you, Bill. Now, when it comes to this game, the areas are not that many, and you would think that this is a very short game because of it. And it kind of is, but the one thing that it did to overset these are the bosses. The developers decided to give the bosses a ton of health. The spider is not too bad, but the others, yeesh. In the words of Freddy Krueger, why won't you die?
Why won't you die? Oh my god, these guys take forever!
No matter what, you will run through all your good weapons and just be down to your base gun, and these things can tank so many shots. Another thing that is annoying is that the bosses have no health bars. Now they do change color and grow darker shades of red before finally blowing up, but it would be nice if we got a more definitive way to see how close we are to ending these things. Honestly, the best way to destroy bosses is to take a few hits as possible, so you should learn their attack patterns and learn how to dodge them by jumping and roll dodging out of the way of incoming projectiles. Now, shortly after you beat a boss, you can find an ancient scroll to give you some new abilities. These include faster speed, climbing on ceilings, etc., and you will need them to get access to some new spots in the game. But now here's the main gimmick of this game. When we said you're playing as the agents, we mean it. It's kind of like you're playing as the red shirts from Star Trek. Now, what we mean is that when your agent dies, guess what? He immediately is brought back to life as an undead soldier under the control of Amanat. You then pick up from the last checkpoint as a brand new agent. But all your gear and good health is with the last agent as you played as, so you'll need to hunt him down, destroy him to get your stuff back. Now on one hand, it is pretty creative and it does make sense, as the mummy does have control over the dead, but it can make some parts of this game relentlessly difficult, as the enemies in this game can gang up on you and drain your health pretty quickly. If you get taken out in a very busy area, well, you could end up running through a whole grip of agents before you get your stuff back. Now, you could forego it and just try to fight the boss without it, but forget that. You're gonna need your best gear in order to fight these bosses. And when you get it back, you will have to grind to recover your full health and max out your ammo. Look, we all know you won't feel like doing it, but you're gonna have to if you want to stand a chance against these big brutes. That's just the way it goes. The music in this game is fabulous. It perfectly captures the feeling of this game, which is not surprising since this is WayForward, and they do not mess around when it comes to tunes. You know, the Mummy Demastered is a really fun retro experience. The endless agents and turning them undead when they fall is an interesting concept, but it does hamper the overall experience a little, as certain areas can get extremely frustrating, almost rage quit worthy, but there's still just enough fun here to keep the game intact. Challenge is a good thing, and the great thing about games like this is it really forces you to learn, adapt, and get better. It is pretty hard, but not impossible at all, and when you do defeat an area, it is quite fulfilling. So you know what, even if you did not like the movie, and I know most people didn't, don't let that discourage you from giving this game a shot. It's a good callback to that old Metroidvania style gameplay. Now, is it worth $20? Well, I guess that depends. I mean, if you're into that old style, then we say sure. But if you're not a fan, then you may want to give this a pass.
Whoa! Well, there you have it. That's the Mummy Demastered, a real hard throwback. So, as you guys saw, with those types of games, you might generally already know if that's something you're into. Are you into movie-based tie-in games? Are you into demastered, classical-style games that are based more or less on something that we already may know and love from our history? And also, do you like getting your ass kicked a lot?
But getting that satisfying feeling when you finally defeat that boss.
Indeed. Well, that's up for you to decide. Meanwhile, we've been your hosts, William Morris.
And Eugene Morris.
On your favorite show, the Brotherhood of Gaming.com, the best source for reviewing entertainment. Isn't that right, Rob?
Yeah, Brotherhood of Gaming, whatever.
Come on, can't you just stop being a sarcastic robot for just once in your...
Hey, will you guys shut up and leave me alone? I'm trying to play Pokemon, a man's game. I like that mummy garbage you guys think is really good. Ugh. PlayStation 4, Xbox, stupid.
But Rob, it's also on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, in that case, it's a great game.
He's easy to persuade.
We'll see you next time.